Dr. Nadine back again. Thank you for coming back and watching these videos. I hope you're enjoying them. If you haven't watched any of the other videos in the series, please do so. I've tried to keep them quick but practical, and hopefully there are some tips or strategies or resources that I share within the videos that really help you or point you in the right direction. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit more about the importance of self-care. It's so important, in fact, that I even wrote the book on it. The Clever Self-Care Guide was published a couple of years, I think, after my first book, which was called Coping with Stress and Burnout as a Veterinarian, which was based on my doctoral research. But I followed it up with the Clever Self-Care Guide because I wanted to really put out there the importance of prioritizing yourself, putting yourself first. To talk about the cliche, when you're on an aircraft, you fit your own oxygen mask first. This is what I'm talking about here. We have to prioritize our own self-care. We have to put ourselves first, because if we don't, who will? And we matter. We are important. Every single one of us is important. We all matter. And so when we're prioritizing our self-care, it's as if we're saying to ourselves, I matter. I respect myself enough to do something for myself today. Sometimes the best we can manage is 5 minutes, and it might be 5 minutes to read 2 pages of our favourite book, or it might be a couple of minutes to watch something funny on YouTube, or send a quick email to a friend or a text to a friend. But it's all about saying, you know what, I matter. Because in today's busy lives, it's so easy to think, oh, I'll do that for myself later, or I'll do this, or I can't be bothered. But it is really important to be able to put ourselves first, to prioritize ourselves, because we need to be at our best so that we are in a better position to expend our energy if we're helping other people. If we're already deplete and we don't have enough energy of our own and enough to go around, then how can we possibly expect to help each other's? That's how we get burnt out and we end up exhausted, because we're putting other people or other things first. Self-care isn't just about meditating or, just sitting quiet and relaxing. Self-care is much broader than that. It encompasses, obviously, our psychological well-being, our mindset, how we process our thoughts, how we process our feelings, how we act on our thoughts and feelings, and how we go about our day-to-day lives and what we think about that. If we have a really negative mindset, then our actions are more likely to be quite negative. If we have a positive and optimistic mindset, our actions are more likely to be aligned with that. So think about your mindset. What are the words in your mind tell you? Are they positive? Are they helpful? Or are they negative and pessimistic? So try to be aware of those. It also means like our physical health. So absolutely looking after ourselves, engaging in some kind of exercise or movement. And, different stages of life necessitate different outputs of energy and exertion. And that's not my wheelhouse. I'm not a qualified exercise physiologist or personal trainer, so I'm going to not sort of go into that, except to say that movement, our bodies are designed to move. And when we're moving and when we're exercising and releasing endorphins, they help us to feel good. So find an activity that works for you. And, my golden rule, it needs to be safe, healthy and legal to be able to engage in that kind of activity that you find helpful. It might just be going for a beautiful walk around the block. It might be walking on the beach. It might be gardening. It might be, for some of you, going for a run. It might be going to the gym. It might be lifting weights if you've got a home gym, or whatever it is, just getting out and moving your body. Again, making sure that it is safe and it is appropriate for you and your body. And if you need to then seek that expert advice, if you haven't exercised in a long time or you don't know what to do, then please do talk to your health professionals about that before you engage in any activity. As I always say, common sense is really important in these kind of situations, but find something that is really enjoyable for you that you can do. There are so many different programs and tools out there that you can use. There's home-based activities that you can do, with qualified people. So research those sorts of things, looking after your physical body. Also what you're putting into it. And, I do have a certification in nutrition, but I'm not going to go on and on and on about nutrition. But really thinking about how food affects your mood, because there is a really strong connection there. There is a lot of science, there's a lot of research around that food-mood connection. And if you are someone who is sensitive to certain foods, or it might be additives or preservatives in foods, there are, some really reputable tests that you can do to identify what those are, because sometimes you could be eating really healthy, but you could still have an intolerance to healthy foods as well. So be mindful of the food that you're putting in and how your body reacts, how you feel when you eat that food. If you eat something and then afterwards you're like, oh, I feel so sick, I shouldn't have had that, that's probably not an indication that that was a really good food for you. If you eat something like, I feel great, I feel energized, I don't have brain fog, then that might be an indication that what you're doing and that the healthy eating that you're following is appropriate for you. As I said, there are plenty of experts out there from the physical and the nutritional space that you can seek out to get that proper advice in that area. Suffice to say that that physical aspect of self-care is really important. Personally, I love, particularly in winter, here in Australia where I live, I find winter is my favourite time of the year. We have beautiful, glorious sunny days, but it's not too hot. The mornings, it can be quite brisk to just get out there. The sun is coming down, you're getting that vitamin D. I go for a walk with my dog. I just look at nature. I walk past the birds and I say hello to them. I love those moments. And to me, that is a really special time that I am also spending some quality time with my beautiful Labrador, as well as getting some movement in for myself, getting some fresh air, being out in nature. It's just a really nice way for me to either start the day or, if I go for a walk in the afternoon, it just incorporates a little bit of that activity. There's something that I find enjoyable. Find what it is for you that gives you that motivation to want to go and just get your body moving again in a safe and healthy way. And then, of course, there's our mindset, there's our spiritual well-being. And you may not be a spiritual person. I consider myself incredibly spiritual. I would say that I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. So what that means for me is practicing engaging in my spirituality. I love to do some meditation. I love to write in my journals. As I said in my first video around my journey to fulfillment, I'm also a psychic medium. And so, I love connecting, automatic writing, and just, getting in those kind of connections. I appreciate that might sound woo-woo to some of you, but it's finding the thing that makes you tick. And I don't shy away from that because that is part of who I am. And I am proud and consider myself very lucky to believe in spirituality. And spirituality to me is what that means for each individual. And so, for some people watching this, you might have cultural beliefs, you might have religious beliefs, you might have spiritual beliefs, you might not have any. If that works for you, then so be it. Because I'm not here to say you should believe in this or you shouldn't believe in that. That's not my place, and it's none of my business. And likewise, it's finding what works for you. And being open and respecting that we all have different opinions, or we all have different beliefs. A lot of us have the same opinions and the same belief. It's respecting that. That's part of self-care, is being able to feel that, what matters to us is important. And, I remember my mum always saying, whose opinion really matters? It should be your own opinion that matters most, rather than everyone else's. But I think we kind of grow up in a society where, we're mindful, oh, don't say that, they'll think this, or, oh, you don't want the neighbours to think you're really noisy or messy, or, or don't say that, they'll think this. And so we're so mindful. I think we grow up being so aware of what other people might think. And there's an expression, what other people think of me is none of my business. I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little bit on the fence on that, because I think, well, I want people to think that I'm a nice person because I am a nice person. But some people might go, no, I don't like her. She's too woo-woo, or I don't like her for this or that. None of my business, because it's what I think of myself that matters the most. Likewise, it's what you think of yourself that matters the most. Do things that make you happy. Again, safe, healthy, and legal, please. My golden rules there. But it's about prioritizing yourself, doing those enjoyable activities. If you have hobbies, making time for those hobbies, and it might be 10 minutes or 15 minutes each day, or every second day, or once a week. But it's really important to make time for those things that you enjoy, that you find really enjoyable. That's part of your self-care. It also incorporates that self-control, I guess. It's self-respect. It's that determination. It's about what makes you tick. What does self-care mean for you? And what would that look like? If you are practicing self-care, how would you know? How would you say to somebody else, this is what self-care means to me? So I encourage you to really think about what self-care means to you. Are you engaging in those aspects of self-care that are important to you? Or do you dismiss them because you don't have time, or you don't think you're worth it, or there's too many other important things? Because we can all find some time, it might be 5 minutes in the day, to invest in ourselves. And sometimes that might be just sitting quiet, closing our eyes and deep breathing. It might be 2 minutes, it might be 1 minute. That's still part of self-care. So I really encourage you to think about your own self-care. Think about those things that you can do, what that means to you. If you're stuck, or you don't know how to sort of move through some of those things with self-care, because perhaps anxiety gets in the way, or stress, or depression, or grief gets in the way of your self-care, have a look at my book, The Clever Self-Care Guide. You can purchase it through my website. There's links there. It's available on Amazon. I think it's available on most bookstores, wherever you might get your books, your online books. But have a look, because there are some tips and strategies that I go a lot deeper into in the book there. So I hope that is helpful. And I really encourage you to step into your own self-care, because you're worth it. If you need any more advice, or you would like to talk about any of the programs, any of my ebooks, any of the online courses, any of the services that I provide, please visit my website. The link is right here in my little background here, www.positivepsychsolutions.com.au. You'll find more information on Thrive Essence. You'll find more information on some of my online courses, my ebooks. They're available on Kindle or PDF download. Just different ways to work with me, some of my different programs. Please feel free to reach out, and I'm always happy to point you in the right direction if I'm not the right person to work with you, or there's a service that I don't provide. I'm happy to try and help point you in that direction. So enjoy the rest of this video series. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.